I'm going to tie you one of my favourite sea trout flies. It's a fly that I created many years ago, called the Daioni. It's a top dropper pattern in the main. It works very well, certainly in the latter part of the season, so yeah, mid-June, then into July, August, even into the middle of September. Very successful pattern, but again fishes very well on the dropper. And it's one of those patterns that you often see people fishing, a lot of very streamlined patterns, where people basically in their tackle or in their fly selection also need some flies that carry a much fatter silhouette. And this is one pattern that actually helps create that because of the palmed body. Anyway, it's a fly called the Daioni, which in Welsh or in translation basically means to do you good. So I hope it will bring you some luck. So I've got a partridge size 6 bomber hook, which actually works really well with this type of pattern. I'm going to start off with some Vivus 80 silk in black. Just going to bed the thread just behind the bend in the wire. We're going to use some holographic silver tinsel in large. Just going to lengthen that, and then just some silver wire to hold down the rib. So I'm just going to marry the two ends up. Marry them up. I'm just going to tie the two in at the same time. Just going to clip them to get them starting at the same point, and just secure them down and take them down towards the bend of the hook. You want to stop around there. Bring your thread back up and over the bend in the wire, and stop there around 2 to 3 mil short of the eye. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the silver tinsel up in touching turns. When you get to there, skewer off. Just take a couple of turns back over it. That won't move at all. Snip off the excess. So what we then need to do, so this is the palm ring section, and so all we're going to use is just a Chinese cock cape in white, and secure that in just where you've tied off the silver tinsel. Give it a good few strong turns just to secure. And the feathers are quite long, so I'm not going to bother with the hackle pliers. Put 2 turns in at the beginning, and then palmer down accordingly. Try and keep them in even turns, not that the fish care, but it certainly makes for a neater fly. And then just down to the base where your wire is waiting, and then you cross your wire over the hackle. You can leave the hackle go. So that's trapped the hackle in place. What we do now, we take this wire up in even turns, but weave the wire as you go up. That helps stop any of these hackle fibers being trapped. And basically every turn you did of the hackle, you're doing a turn of wire. So that'll help if any fish does break through a certain section of the tinsel or the hackle. It'll actually keep the fly in a fishable manner because it won't unwind the rest of the hackle. So take it up here, up through the where you did the first couple of turns of hackle, and then we're going to just secure it off. So do a couple of turns and then bend it over and secure. And then we snip the excess. We're also going to snip the excess of the hackle down to the base, as such. Okay, so you can see that's going to keep a really fat silhouette. It's a lot of movement in the fly as well with these soft hackles, but it's going to keep a very fat silhouette when you're night fishing, which is important to have in your armoury. Not all flies should fish the same. You imagine when the fish were feeding at sea, which is their last feeding memory, you had some shrimps and so forth which had a very fat silhouette as opposed to sand eels and bait fish which had a very slender silhouette. So you need to essentially imitate both in your silhouettes. So the wing is just a black squirrel. So a standard black squirrel, and that extends down the length of the body, just past the bend. And to secure. Good few turns. Good. And snip off the base. All of the excess. Tidy up those little stubby ends. Like so. Okay, perfect. So one step left. I then collar hackle the head or the neck section. So what I do is I actually use some collaring hackles, which are in grizzly dyed blue. Quite a strong blue, more like a royal blue. If you can't find these hackles dyed blue, you should be able to. The likes of Funky Fly Tying have some Nature Spirit collaring hackles, which are perfect. If you can't though, you can get away with blue guinea fowl. You can also get some teal, which is dyed blue. Both of those have some speckling through them, which is good. So you can get some schlappen, grizzly schlappen as well, which is basically what I'm using here as a collaring hackle. I'm just releasing all the fibres, so they're not going to just bed into each other when I wind around. You're going to release all those fibres. I'll try and bend them over slightly into a V, like that. And then we're going to give it maybe 3 turns. 1. Again, these feathers are long enough, so I don't need a hackle plier. 3. Perfect. And then tie that off. What you can do, put a couple of turns in front when you've secured, bend the feather back, and then put a couple of turns in front of it again. What that does, it'll stop that hackle from going anywhere, which makes for a more durable fly, which will last over a few fish, not just one fish. Snip off the base. So all we do, just brush the fibres back over the fly. You see them, you don't want to trap them down, leave them pretty spiky. Again, you want to create that thick silhouette with them. The water will dampen them down a bit. And then just tidy up the head. And that's the fly done. So all that's left to do, I'm just going to put a dab of super glue on my thread. And just wind that on. That's perfect. I'm going to snip my thread. So that's the fly done. So that's the Daioni. As you can see, a very simple fly to tie. but an extremely effective fly, especially when you fish it towards the surface. So when you would normally perhaps fish a muddler or a surface lure, you'd fish this on the dropper, but it's accounted for a lot of fish. It's probably one of my most successful patterns, so give it a try.